It comes from the salespeople from the CRM. So the way that they sell it and they pitch it and they talk about it is what? Hey, this is so easy. It does everything for you. Mm-hmm. Well, if someone's going to do everything for me, that's great. But in reality, it's just a tool. This calculator will do everything, but unless I push the buttons, it ain't going to do nothing, right? So They say, this is so easy. It takes care of all this stuff, but you're still managing the technology. You're still managing the tool that it is.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Contacts to Contracts podcast. I am Bryan Lovell, and we have some amazing people. Mr. John Jones, and remote all the way from North Carolina, Mr. Steve Richmond. So
the doctor is in.
The doctor is in. Steve's clearly in the doctor's office.
In the house.
But he is in the house. So, hey, we figured we would have a conversation today about CRM programs, right? I found that CRM programs is like loan originators. It's like one of their favorite things to talk about. Everybody wants to know, hey, what's the best CRM?
Yeah.
How do you use your CRM, right? You get that a lot.
Loan offices, realtors, absolutely.
Yep.
Folks in sales.
So what we figured we would share with you is from our perspective, what are some of the top do's and don'ts with CRM, and then we'll dig a little bit deep on each one of these. So first thing we're going to knock off, we're going to talk about what are some of the mistakes that we're seeing sales professionals make right now when using CRM. And I want to say,
and Bryan, just when we set this up also, it's not about any particular CRM.
Yes,
so we say we're not promoting one, we're not promoting another. Personally, I think we're promoting usage of it and how to use it properly, because there are so many mistakes that are made. But so if you say, well, if we say something along the lines of, well, you shouldn't do this left-handed, and you're just like, mine's designed for left-handed people, okay, I got you. So we're talking very generic here today.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the important thing with a CRM, the biggest mistake is not to use one.
Yes.
And whether you're in real estate and or the mortgage business, as we know, a lot of folks just don't find the time to actually ever use one.
Yeah. I think one of the things I see oftentimes is you have two schools of thought. I don't know, it's not even schools of thought. You have two folks out there. You got those who don't have a CRM, and then you got those who have one but don't use it, right? And so we'll share with you some of those things today that'll help you on your CRM journey. So I think the first one is, I think a lot of folks like to plug in. This is a mistake that we make. They plug into a CRM, let me set it, and forget it.
Well, John was just talking about that 2 seconds ago when he said, hey, you're not really utilizing it. In my opinion, I'll tell you exactly where that comes from. It comes from the salespeople from the CRM. So the way that they sell it and they pitch it and they talk about it is what? Hey, this is so easy. It does everything for you. Mm-hmm. Well, if someone's going to do everything for me, that's great. But in reality, it's just a tool. This calculator will do everything, but unless I push the buttons, it ain't going to do nothing, right? So They say, this is so easy. It takes care of all this stuff, but you're still managing the technology. You're still managing the tool that it is. You have to engage it or leverage it. That's one of your favorite words, Bryan, leverage.
Leverage. Yeah, because one of the things that happens is we put whatever database it is into the CRM with whatever drip campaign, and then we're just like, hey, I'm going to slide this person over to this drip campaign, and then boom, it goes. And we'll talk about
where does it go?
On the good side, where that goes. I think one of the go ahead, Steve.
Throw it back to a doctor's office. You go in, you have this great machine that does what? Takes an x-ray. It produces the x-ray. But if you don't have somebody there reading that x-ray for you to tell you what it just found, hey, congratulations, you have a drip campaign, and now it basically dripped onto the floor, and it did absolutely nothing for you. So you need to have the person behind it making it all real and useful.
Yep, you're correct. I think the second thing is it's not, we make the mistake by not making sure it's integrated with other systems. And so what I mean by that is, the different systems that you're using for your business should be able to talk back and forth with each other, because otherwise you're going to be duplicating a lot of work. And when you duplicate a lot of work, guess what you don't do? You don't do any of the work, right?
You see it all the time, especially when you look at people and they're trying to bring other things in. It's not just, hey, is it talking to my closing, but it's even, hi, I already have a list right now. You have a list, I have a list. We have a Rolodex if you've been in the business that long, right? So you got your 2,000 contacts. If it's not integrated and easily uploaded into that system, who's going to sit there and say, let me punch my 2,000 in? It's got to, be able to come right up. It's got to talk to the Excel or whatever it's doing so that it's all integrated, talking to one another, because everybody does have their own system.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I think that there's a lot of different platforms out there. And like Steve said, we're not necessarily talking about one platform over another. Just if you're out there looking for a CRM, it's important that it's integrated with some of the other systems that you're using. And I would even say that you'll take that even a little bit further. Sometimes there are add-ons to some of those CRM systems that if they're not talking to each other, your database isn't transferring,
the information,
into some other things, right?
Right.
One of the things I've seen too over the years is everybody wants a CRM and they go out and they buy this shiny thing. Steve, to your point, a salesperson sells them on this is going to do all of this stuff for you. And then they get it, but they don't actually work on putting together the campaigns that they're trying to move, right? So, most people, when they get a CRM, they're wanting to touch people in a couple different ways, right? That could be your past client database, your sphere of influence, just a couple. But we don't bother building out the campaigns to be authentic to who you are, right? Or what you're trying to accomplish.
I think you got two things there. One, you have authenticity, and then you have, are you actually going to use it? What I think ends up happening, and this happens it happens in all industries. Somebody comes and they say, we have this brand new thing. It's a CRM. Sit down and we're going to have a 5-hour training on it. You sit down, you have the training on it, and they give you so much information. You remember the first 2 points, so you're willing to do those first 2 things, and then everything that happened afterwards. It really should be day 1. This is how you do this. Next week, we're going to talk about how you do that. And the week after that, we'll talk about the drip campaign. And the week after that, we'll talk about the flyer campaign. But when we give you here, it will do everything. Here's a hey, Ronco, and there's more, right? I mean, we keep hearing, here's 110 different things that it's going to do. I'm overwhelmed, so I'm going to do nothing, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
When I get it, this is what I'm going to use it for. Well, I don't have any closed loans right now, so it's talking about closed loans. So I guess I should just blow this part off because I only care about the other part. It needs to be a continuous learning process of how to use that CRM.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. And I think one of the other things that happens, Steve, to the point that you're making is, all of this technology improves over time, right? They make updates to it, improvements to it, changes to it. And if you're not staying up to date with those things as well, there's a whole lot of aspects of these programs that you're probably not even plugged into or using.
Right? Here's a little tip, and I say this all the time. Raise your hand and volunteer. As soon as and I don't care if it's about CRM or whatever, but as soon as somebody says, hey, we're introducing a CRM, we're going to pilot it with 10 loan officers. I'll be one. Hey, they're coming out with I'll be one to test it out. Why? Because if you're the person who goes in there, you get the best knowledge and you get the experience of using it. And if there's anything that you want to change because it's not working for you, you're the one who gets it to work for you to say, hey, you know how this drop-down box works here? I don't like that. We should do this. Then all of a sudden, you're the one who's creating the tool that you want to have versus, hey, we created this and now we're forcing it upon you.
Sure.
Raise your hand and get involved early, and then you'll utilize it because then you get greater buy-in and it does what you want it to do.
Yeah, no, 100%. You're right. Right. So, I think one of the other things too is, Steve, you sort of started to talk about this. We become paralyzed by the enormity of something, right? That we either choose to only focus on one or two things, or we don't focus on using any of it. Like, hey, instead of me trying to even grasp how big this thing is, I'm just not even going to bother, right? And then we start it and we stop it. But I think one of the mistakes that we make right now too is we don't dig deep on all of the things that a CRM can do for us in terms of the different drip campaigns. And I just thought of a couple just specific to our business, and you guys chime in if I've missed something, but we talked about, closed deals, like your past clients, right? Prospects, these are the people that you're working on. Maybe in our business, you've just done a pre-approval and they're either out shopping for a home, or maybe you had to have that unfortunate conversation where you said, hey, these are the things that I am going to have to help you work on to be in a position to buy down the road, right? I call that kind of the cold. You've also got in process, right? These are the people that you need to communicate with during the process of a sale, right? Like in our business, typically it takes 30 days or less of a process, but you still need to be able to communicate through that process. And then the other one I think that too that we miss out on big time is just our referral partners, right? We spend a lot of time. Listen, the farming is the hard part, right? You guys agree? Right? The farming,
the catch, the hardest is to catch them,
is the hard part.
Right.
That's the hard part. Everybody does a great job once you get an at bat. It's the farming, and so we go out and we spend a lot of time on farming, meeting new people, trying to build relationships, and we don't put them on a communication campaign. I would call that like referral partners. And then the other one is sphere of influence, right? These are your friends, your family, the people who are in the PTA with you or in the little league or, go to your church or whatever. But each one of those segments, you should have something built out specifically for them.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think we tend to chase the newest, the newest, greatest thing, the new deal, and we forget to follow up with people that would love an opportunity to send us a referral. And if we're not staying in touch via email, phone, text, then slowly but surely they kind of drift off and forget kind of what you do. I mean, and we've all seen that in the mortgage business where somebody will say, hey, man, I was thinking, you know what, I just refinanced, but do you do refis? Well, shame on me if I didn't let you know 2 years ago when I did your purchase that I'm here to help if you ever need to refinance. And we hear that in our industry a lot, and realtors, they tend to move on, to chase the next deal, and they forget to follow up with the person that they just had a deal with that can refer them more clients. Yeah,
no, you're absolutely right.
Well, look at what John just said. It's the same thing that I gave you too much information to learn about the system. Yeah, I saw you 2 years ago. Please remember me 2 years from now when you go to refi. That's the purpose of the CRM. It keeps in touch with you over that 2-year period so that you will be able to refi. But Bryan, when you said the word referral partners, I want to take it one step further. I think it's everybody in the process. So it's not your appraiser, but that appraiser should be in there so that appraiser now knows you. That title company and that closing officer should be in there. And if you're sitting there and you're helping somebody buy a home, what is a better time than to exhibit and display yourself to that seller's agent, to that listing agent, to see how awesome you are, because they don't even have a relationship with you, and now you put that in there. So instead of saying, hey, can I have a deal? It's like, I'm not even trying to get a loan from you. Let me just show you how good I am. Now, all of a sudden, you follow up with them afterwards, because one day that seller's agent's going to be what? Going to be a buyer's agent.
Yeah, listen, I am 100% in agreement with you. I think in our business, that's one of our shortcomings overall as salespeople. I talk on this all the time, but let's use this example. You go to a realtor event, right? Let's say you go to something at the board of realtors and you meet a couple of new agents, and the goal is you get into a relationship, you find ways to add value to them, provide solutions, right? And hopefully earn some referrals. Do you think that the sales process to get a referral from that type of realtor is faster or slower than the one that just did a transaction with you?
Slower than the one that,
right?
I mean, you're likely to get another deal from somebody you've just done a transaction with.
Because to Steve's point, when you're in the midst of a transaction, you're showing them this is what the experience your buyer is going to get in working with me down the road.
Right.
I think it's also, and correct me if I'm wrong, and you can also help your partners through your own CRM. So now when you start getting your campaigns and information that's out there, it's like, hi, this is me. And don't forget, your real estate agent was so wonderful. So if you bring everybody into that one big communication bubble and you're sharing great information about your partners, then they go, thank you very much. And that's how you start to build loyalty.
Yeah, and I think, you're kind of segueing us in, and we'll get into this in a minute, but I think that's one of the things that some folks are doing really well right now with a CRM, right? The thing about it is, it's not just about how it's benefiting your business, it's how it's benefiting others. And we kind of said at the beginning of this podcast too, that what I see is there's a lot of people out there who don't have a CRM, and I'll just talk real estate agents in general. There's a lot of real estate agents out there that don't have a CRM, and the ones that do don't know what to do with it. Right? I can't tell you how many times that we've gotten a referral from an agent for a buyer that we worked on. We couldn't help them immediately, but we coached and counseled them through the things that they needed to do to be ready to buy. And then they came back to us and said, hey, Bryan, I think I'm ready to try this pre-approval thing again. And I say, hey, do you remember who the agent was who referred us to you in the first place? And their answer is, no.
We do. I mean, our industry, whether you're in the mortgage side or the real estate side, we do a terrible job statistically. So in a recent survey, after 2 years, 87% of consumers forget who the realtor is that they worked with.
Wow.
87. Now, we're not much better. We're at 84%.
Woo!
So we as salespeople, right, what do? We just chase the next deal.
Yes.
The next deal. So statistics show that somebody that does their first mortgage will do that same thing 12 or 14 more times over the next 30 to 40 years.
Yeah.
And what do we do to earn that next deal and the deal after and the deal after? Most of us I hate to say it, most of us tend to just chase the new and not work our database and not go after. I mean, Brian Buffini, 100 Days to Greatness, you can get 50% of all your referrals if you have 200 people that know, like, and trust you, and you work that database.
Yep.
And you throw it back on. If you love your statistics like you just did there, National Association of Realtors, the 2020 profile of home buyers and sellers, what does it say? It says that the average person is going to move every 10 years, and they move within a 15-mile radius. So you're saying they forget your name over 2 years. I'm telling you got 8 more to go.
Right.
Yeah.
But remember, 15-mile radius, which means they're still in your circle and where you're doing business. They're not moving from Pittsburgh to Plano, Texas. They're moving from 4th Street to 8th Street. So that's where the beauty of the CRM, it keeps you in touch with that person who's still in your area.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And I think that's a good point. That's a good time to transition to what are some things that we see people doing well with CRM. And Steve, I'll kind of start right where you just left off. Is the ones who are managing their CRM well and it's reaping them benefits are the ones that this is more than just a drip campaign. And what do you have to do to make it more than just a drip campaign?
It's full contact. I mean,
let me pick this up. This is really heavy.
You probably got to pick up something like, it looks like this now. It's not quite as heavy as the.
I got it. Oh, that's my phone. Right? That thing weighs 500 pounds. But what good LOs are doing is they're using that CRM to remind them when to make that kind of a touch, to make a phone call, to send a text message, whatever it may be. The good ones are using the whole thing, right? And you go back to what we said earlier about what not to do is to set it and forget it, right? And that would be the forget it part. Hey, I'm not even going to, bother. But that CRM should be a tickler. I say all the time, a notepad can't tap you on the shoulder.
I love that.
Right? A notebook can't tap you on the shoulder and be like, hey, man,
right,
I need you to call that person. Hey, man, you need to follow up with that person.
So what amount of time during your week should you schedule to work on your past database? I mean, would you say, 2 to 3 hours a week or an hour a day? Are you checking in every morning and going through it? It's definitely the folks that do it and have a method to doing that every day or every week are the ones that get the majority of repeat customers. I mean, there are people that know, like, and trust you. They want to refer business to you. And I mean, I think going down in the next avenue is to label your ABC referrals. And there are some people that love to refer people out to you. If you did a good job for somebody, whether it's real estate or mortgage, you're going to have clients that always want to refer you. And those people are the ones that are most important that you stay in constant communication with. And don't let them slowly forget who you are.
Yeah.
I'll jump on that
Yeah,
train.
go ahead.
I'm going to talk about you, Brian. So you said, hey, a notepad isn't going to tap you on the shoulder. You said, what are some things that people don't do well? I have talked to people and they say, oh, the reason I don't like my CRM is it just gives my manager a reason to tell me what I'm doing wrong. Right? Yeah. There's a dashboard that comes up and they're saying, well, you didn't make those, what John was just talking about. You got to make these phone calls. So now my manager knows what I didn't do. Mm-hmm. Instead of looking at it as the stick of my manager's going to know what I didn't do, I say look at it as the carrot to say, hey, somebody's giving me the actual information, the playbook of what to do.
Right.
Yeah. So have that conversation with your manager up front. Okay, we're instituting a CRM. How are you, manager, going to use this? Well, I'm going to use this to help you make the calls that you make. So am I going to get in trouble if I don't? No. So if you set those parameters up front, it makes it a lot better. But people tend to say, well, if they're going to see what I am and I'm not doing, is that going to hurt me in the long run? And that's why. So I'd rather them know nothing. And that's not a good working.
So the answer to that question, yes, Steve, is it going to hurt you in the long run? Yeah. The answer is yes. Like I will tell you from a leadership perspective, like I've never looked at the global dashboard of the CRM that we have, and I don't know that I am ever going to. But what I am going to share with you is those who are using it at a high level, I will show you that they're converting at a higher rate than those who aren't. If that's not proof in the pudding, I don't know what is, right? I don't have to beat you up about that. Right? I guess in some way I'm beating you up by saying, hey, that person made more money than you because they executed a plan that was readily available to you too.
We talked about it every month. We have certain folks that every month they'll send out a drip campaign or a specific target email about an opportunity maybe to refinance, right? Save some money. And the folks that do that, and they don't do it once, mm-hmm. they don't do it twice, they continue to do that every couple of months, right? And they still, every time that campaign hits, they get 3 or 4 deals. Every time. Yeah. That's not even picking up the phone.
I was going to say, you were just sharing with me today about a mail piece.
Every time. The mail piece continues to do. We're on our 4th round. Same mail piece, past closed clients. Would now be an opportunity to consider refinancing, and save you some money, right? The first 3 times that person probably just tossed that postcard. Yeah. The 4th time, she had 4 people contact her Monday from that hit from last week. It's incredible.
But to that point again, we were talking about the 5,000-pound, 500-pound cell phone or whatever. Again, the drip campaign can't make the postcard, put the postage on it, and put it in the mail, right? You've got to do that part yourself. And that's where, again, that's the good behavior that we see people doing right now. John, I remember what I was going to say earlier. You asked, like, how much time should you be working on this database? If you go back just a couple of minutes ago, we talked about closed deals, prospects, in-process, referral partners, sphere of influence. And Steve gave us one. There were 6 different buckets, right? And so the answer is, I've always been a proponent, every single day you should have something on your schedule that is revenue generating, right? If you just put
one of those 6 revenue
on there every day, it would be revenue generating,
100%.
Right? Hey, like on Mondays, I'm going to call the past closed deals that are due for a call, right? And remember, a good CRM is going to tell you this is who to call. It's going to remind you of a loan anniversary, right? On Tuesdays, I'm going to call prospects. That's everybody that you've pre-approved in, let's say, the past 60 or 90 days. Let me make that check-in call, see where they're at, right? Again, a good CRM is going to remind you of that. In process, referral, we could go on and on and on. But the point is, you should be putting significant time into picking up the phone, making the phone call, sending the Facebook message, whatever it is that's not just set it and forget it.
Or find assistance, from somebody else that can provide that level of service for you, a team member.
Yeah.
If that's something that's not in your wheelhouse, you need to consider bringing on board somebody part-time, full-time, or subbing this out to a service that can do that for you.
Yeah.
But think about how much time it would, you said you should be spending significant time. Think about how much time it would take to look all of that information up and not have it at your fingertips. You're going to spend all your time going, okay, who's in my 90-day list? Okay, let me find them. Here's your list, dollar for dollars, versus trying to set it up front. So you're going to spend, by having a system, you end up spending less time and you spend a significant amount of time on what? The revenue generating actions as opposed to the research.
Yep. Good point, Steve. So one of the other things that I wrote down that we're seeing folks do that is managing CRM at a good level and having success is you've got to incorporate video into your CRM, right? And so there's a reason that we video record this podcast, right? It's so that you can see how we're interacting. You can see our level of excitement. You can see how animated we are. If we were just sitting behind a microphone,
you can see me. I mean, come on, who wouldn't want to see
this,
right? I mean, that's why
good looking dude.
That's a good looking dude right there.
Absolutely.
You know, but there's a reason. Like, and again, one of the other things I'll say is like, the person who reads the email or text is the interpreter of the tone. You send a video, there's nothing to interpret. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
The whole world is using video today. You're looking at Facebook. Nobody writes anything on Facebook anymore. It's here's my video, then we go do it. If you look at LinkedIn right now, there's a spot on LinkedIn where you can insert your own videos, and people who are on there and do a lot of LinkedIn, they're putting videos of them. Instead of saying, here's my work experience, they're talking about it. They're doing it visually.
Right.
Why do you think I just do this with my hand? We're visual. We're all visual people, right? So I love the idea of video. And I've said this a million times, and I'm going to say it again. I don't like the way I look on video. I don't like the way I sound on video. Hey, guess what, baby? That's the way you look and sound to each and every one of us every day of your life.
Yeah.
You got
good Lord.
Are you not going to show up for an interview if you're not going to talk to the customer? I don't like the way I sound, so I'm not going to talk to the customer. Stop it.
I was going to say, hey, listen, if you go back and watch our podcast that we did with Ryan Owens recently, we did a podcast with Ryan Owens on specifically video marketing. Yep. He said to a real estate agent who said that to him, Steve, well, I don't like the way I look and I don't like the sound. So let me ask you a question. If you got an opportunity to go on a listing appointment, would you not go because you don't like the way you look and sound? Of course you would go, right? So there you go.
Look, if you can handle this
dispelling myths and dropping mics right here on Context to Contract.
If you can handle this nasally northeastern voice right here, it's just the way that it is. If I had Bryan's voice, that deep Barry White thing going on, I'd be much more famous here today.
Go easy on him.
We got what we got.
Yeah, I'm definitely not famous. I'm waiting though. Here's the last thing I've got for you guys. This is last one on folks who are managing CRM at a high level, is they have a strategy to share with their referral partners on how it benefits them. Steve, you started to talk about this a few minutes ago. Here's the reality. If you're sharing, a lot of this is about customer experience, right? So we talked about, the prospects, the end process. Those are things, if you're sitting down with a referral partner, hey, this is what working with me is going to be like. I go back to what we just said about how many borrowers call us back and we ask, do you remember who your real estate agent was? And they don't know. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Agent, here's one of the benefits you're going to work with me. I have a CRM that I'm going to execute so that when these borrowers come back to me, I'm going to make sure they get back to you, right? And so they've got a plan,
hot or cold campaigns,
to be able to share with their referral partners, hey, this is a benefit that I have that also benefits you, right? Helping them solve some problems.
And at a high level, we have the mailings that go out every week, the updates. We have the drip campaigns that are on autopilot. But the folks that work it at a high level, they do the Monday check-ins. How'd the weekend go? Did you see anything out there that you're putting an offer in? Anything I can, help you with? They're doing the hard work. They're actually picking up the phone and they're staying in communication and contact with the customer, which then you can report back to the agent partner you're working with. So you guys keep that consumer front and center with you. I mean, we see it all the time earlier this week, in talking to somebody. They lost somebody, both the realtor and the LO lost a client because it was 9 weeks. They hadn't found a house, but they weren't doing the follow-up. I mean, they kind of was set it, forget it. So it's easy in real estate now to put a campaign together for a borrower. I mean, somebody looking for a home search. I'm going to go ahead and send you the 30 properties that might meet your criteria. And then that 2-week period goes by. They don't even check in. Yeah. Because, new listings show up in their inbox. The realtor gets copied. Do they reach out and actually check to see if they want to see one of them? I mean, you just don't know. So you've got to be actively working it, calling every week, and partnering with a realtor that's doing the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're waiting for people to ask you.
Yeah, I want to go see this. It's
not good.
Make the ask. Make the ask.
Yep.
Make the ask.
All right, gentlemen, anything that we didn't hit on that we should have in regards to CRM before we...
The only thing, and this is just my old background coming at me, is it's wonderful to not worry about legal compliance if you stick with your CRM. But I have, in my old world, I used to get questions all the time. Hey, what's proper when I set up my Facebook page? How do I set up my LinkedIn page? What can I do? Here, you have your company saying this has all been blessed, this has all been approved. You don't have to ask that question. It's being handed to you that it's going to be okay.
Yep.
Yeah, good point.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Contacts to Contracts podcast. On behalf of Steve Richmond, Mr. John Jones.
Thank you, Bryan.
I am Bryan Lovell, and if there's anything that you need, we're always here to serve.